This is a Defocus Media production.
Audio Jungle.
What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Glover.
And I'm Dr. Jennifer Lyerly, resident optometry nerd.
And welcome to Defocus Media, optometry's #1 podcast, where we discuss the hottest topics, latest technology, eyewear, practice management, and more. So sit back, relax, and defocus. What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Glover. Today, I'm super excited because I get to hang out with my brother from another mother. You guys have seen him on the podcast previously, but when I talk about, a true star, a true innovator, a true educator, a true game changer in the eye care industry, it's only one person that truly pops to mind that really embodies all of those different titles that I just listed. Friends and family, I'd like to welcome one of my favorite optometrists, global optometrist, Obi Malope. Obi, how are you doing today, sir?
What an intro, Doc. I'm good, thanks. And how are you, Doc? Hello, everyone. What a privilege, what an honor it is to be able to connect with the eye care community through Defocus Media, optometry's #1 podcast platform. So this is a complete privilege to be here with you today, Doc.
Hey, man, it's a privilege and an honor and a true blessing to be on this call with you today. You see, a lot of folks may not know that you and I, we go back. We go back quite a bit of time now, and we've created some things on a global scale that's out of the States that has really, created value to the eye care, the optometric community. And it's been a blessing to partner with you on these different initiatives. But today, I really want to just focus in and talk about your journey in eye care, Obi, because you have an amazing journey. Just from day one where you started to what you've built over time, it's just priceless. And I really want to just kind of walk through your journey. I really want to take it from day one to where you're at now, but also talk about the future. Because when I look at you, I look at a global optometrist. And if you're a global optometrist, that means you have the pulse of the entire world when it comes to eye care. So we need to learn from you. We need to know where this industry is going. But I want to learn how you got there, so all the other optometrists, all other eye care professionals out there that want to get into your shoes, that want to make an impact, they can have some tools and tips and resources to be able to achieve that. Are you game today, Obi?
Let's go. I'm game. Thank you for the compliment very, very much, sure, because the things that you're saying in your introduction about me, I'm thinking that's what I say about you. So I'm truly grateful for that. Thank you very much, Doc.
Hey, no problem, man. Let's get this party started. Shout out to all my friends on LinkedIn. If you're watching, feel free to shout out where you're at, what country, what state, what part of the world, because again, this is a global podcast. This is a global communication today. I'm in North Carolina in the United States. Obi Malope is out in South Africa. What part in particular, Obi?
Johannesburg.
You got it. He's in Joburg. I had the opportunity to go down to Joburg. When I tell you that it's an amazing place, it's very beautiful. I was just there for a quick, a couple of days for business. But next time I go, I'm going to hang with Obi, and he's going to show me around and take me all across South Africa. But Obi, let's get this party started, man. Who is Obi Malope, man? If you don't mind, just kind of sharing your background. How you got into eye care. Your family, if you'd like, just paint us through the story, man, of who Obi Malope is, if you don't mind sharing that, my friend.
Definitely, Doc. I grew up being passionate about football, soccer. As you can see, I'm wearing a Liverpool t-shirt. So soccer, I was very good at it. I knew that when I finished matric, I was going to go international and play for my country, play for big clubs. And unfortunately, in my matric year, I broke my ankle in a soccer game, and the doctors told me that I would never be able to play sports ever again. And that obviously shattered me. But I think one thing that I've always learned from a very young age is that if you can't change something, move on. If you can't play a role in changing something about your current situation, move on to the next thing and give everything you have into that next thing. And so it was around June, July, where it's 6 months before I'm finishing matric year. I spent 2 weeks with a doctor, 2 weeks with a dentist, 2 weeks with a physiotherapist, 2 weeks with an optometrist, and so forth. So I looked at the healthcare industry because I saw myself being able to fit in into anything that was health related because I was good with biology. And so I applied my mind in terms of figuring out what does each profession cater for when it comes to the longevity of the profession, and what is it that it will be able to bring for me that I'll be able to give it my best, the same way I was giving soccer. And optometry was what resonated with me the most, simply because when I spent time with optometrists, I looked at that optometrist playing a role in three different facets. They were involved in the educational aspect of their job, the health component of their job, but at the same time, there was a big retail component of their job. And that's something that I liked because it looked like it would be a profession that I would not easily get bored in. So after spending all this time with the different uh, professionals in healthcare, the optometrist is the one that stood out for me the most. Prior to that, I knew nothing about optometry. I knew nothing about eye care. And so that's what led me into the eye care industry. And when I got there, my marks to be able to enter optometry school were not good enough. And they never accepted me. And I only applied to one school. They never accepted me into optometry school. And 2 weeks leading up to the first day of class, I showed up at the HOD's office every single day, knocking on his office. And I asked him, can you please let me in? Can you please let me in? I've got no other option but optometry. And every day they kept on saying no. Every day they kept on saying no. And I said to him, my marks might look like they're average and that I will not make it in optometry. But one thing that you need to know about me is that whatever that I put my mind to, I'm going to excel in it and I'll give it my every best. Because I learned, I was in grade 10, that being average is a sin. So that's how I've always looked at things, that average means that you're doing something wrong. So after 2 weeks of negotiating with the HOD, he eventually let me in. And I made a promise to him. I said, I'm going to be the best optometrist in the world. And he laughed. And that's where my global focus then, I think, started. It started from way back then, just with my attitude in getting into the eye care industry. I went into the eye care industry knowing that I'm not like other students. I went into the eye care industry knowing that I'm a step behind them. So me being in the eye care industry as a student, I knew that whatever that I'm going to be able to do from that moment onwards had to be over and above what was the normal expectant way of doing things. I had to go beyond what was expected as a student. And so that's how my eye care journey began, Dr. Glover.
Hey man, you know what? It's crazy. You tell me this story, you share this story, and believe it or not, our stories are very similar. When I first applied to optometry school, I applied to several schools and I did not get accepted.
Wow.
They told me I didn't have what it takes. My grades weren't up to par. My OAT, the optometry admissions test, it did not. It wasn't hitting right. They were like, nah, peace, right? And luckily at that time, I had an amazing mentor that was very instrumental in telling me, hey, continue to push forward. There is a program at a school that you should try to get into, which I got into, and show that you can do the coursework. And I did exactly what you did. I went hard, man. I didn't give up. I kept going and kept going and going. And then I got accepted to that school. So,
Wow.
if I didn't have that mentorship at an early age, if I didn't have a strong support cast at home telling me that I could do whatever the hell I want to do, you would not see your favorite optometrist today. Just like in your case, you wouldn't see that global optometrist today, right? So, something that I really want to take from what you said and what happened in my life is that you never give up. And I love that you said average is sin, right? Sometimes we get very comfortable in life. Stop being comfortable. Every day I try not to be comfortable because I know if I get out of that comfort zone, I'm going to do something special. I'm going to do something spectacular. But most importantly, if I'm getting out of my comfort zone, I'm going to be able to help those that are around me. So I love that. And something else that you touched on that I thought was huge. I know you love soccer because that's all I see on your timeline, right? But the power of the pivot, being able to pivot and understand that there are other things out there in the world. Sometimes things happen for a reason, right? No doubt
Absolutely.
you were an amazing star in soccer, but look how many lives you have touched, OB, in the world of eye care. Look how many people you have helped in the world of eye care. And I always share this, and I might say this on every single podcast. You know, as eye care professionals, we get to help people with the most precious sense known to mankind, and that's sight. How powerful is that? How much of an
Absolutely.
impact is that, my man? But before you get me preaching, because everybody always wants to get me preaching on here or motivating and things like that. I think it'll really set the tone for this interview, for this stream, to really talk about your purpose, right? Because we can see where you started and we can kind of see what your purpose is, but I'd love to hear from you directly. What is your purpose? And I think that'll help guide us down the right direction in this podcast today.
Wow. It's been a long time since someone actually asked me that question directly. And the way I would best answer it, Doc, is that way back in high school, I think, one of the teachers said to me that every time you are in a room, the room is different, the people are different. And that is something that has always been at the back of my mind from early in my career, that people always used to say to me, you make us better, you make the environment better, you make us feel better. So when I started growing up then and maturing as a human being and trying to understand where do I fit in the world, what is my why, what is my purpose, one thing that my purpose is stemming from is I'm a match. I truly believe that I'm a match, that my purpose in life is to set people on fire, because I come alive when I get to have an opportunity to make an impact or a difference into another person's life. And so my purpose is birthed from just being able to make a difference in people. And optometry, the way I see it, has just been a vehicle through which I would be able to live out that purpose. So whether it be a church, for example, where I'm the church that I go to, where I'm planted, I serve in the ministry of helps. So I'm an usher at church. I'm not in the counseling ministry. I'm not in any other ministry. I'm in the ushers.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like I can be able to talk, use my hands, use my time, in order to be able to make a difference in people in multiple ways or numerous ways at the same time. So when I looked at it in my eye care career, back in varsity, in optometry school, I was selling t-shirts, I was selling perfumes, I was creating one-page websites for other colleagues or other students. So I've always been involved in doing something for another human being.
Yeah.
So that I can make their life better. And it just so happened that optometry was the vehicle through which I can be able to do that on a broader and bigger scale. I would be in a meeting and people will ask me to say grace. I'll be at an environment where people will say, hey man, do you want to do the opening for us? So my purpose is literally tied up in being able to make a difference in people's lives. And so eye care for me is just a vehicle through which I can be able to make a difference in people. I never used to have it figured out, but I think I'm one of those people that whenever I get involved in something, I must go 200% all the way or don't get involved in it at all. So it's always that. It's always, can I make a difference into this person's life? Can I be able to make a difference in the environment? Would I be able to be a catalyst in this environment? And if the answer is yes, I give everything I have into that particular activity. And it even used to go into how I operate with regards to patient care. A lot of people don't know that I actually worked as an optometrist for a very long time. It's only recently when I stopped practicing as an optometrist. But some of my fondest memories in being an optometrist in the examination room, there are patients that walk in, been wearing glasses for 15, 20 years. But you sit down with the patient and you ask them, hey, how are you doing? How has been your journey with your eyes and your eyewear? And they tell you, I hate wearing glasses, but I don't have a choice in the matter because I can't see. What I would always respond in, you know what? I'm a believer, and in the Bible, I've read stories of people's eyesight being healed? Do you mind if I lay my hands on your eyes and pray for you? That's the type of optometrist that I've always prided myself or seen myself as, where I have not just been that type of person who just provides glasses or contact lenses or any other management style. My purpose is built into my identity to a point whereby I would pray for people in the examination room. And sometimes that's all that that person needed in that particular moment in time. And you have a 30, 40-minute chat discussing their life, and they don't even have an opportunity to examine their eyes, and they leave and only make their eye appointment the following week. So for me, my purpose, Dr. Glover, is tied up in, can I make a difference in another human being's life? And if the answer is yes, I look at what tool or vehicle I'm able to do that through.
And you're making a difference. You know, you're making a difference, right? But you figured out that yes, you can do it on a one-on-one level by seeing patients, but now you've elevated it and taken it to the next level, and you're educating eye care professionals by the masses, and you've touched so many people. So you've been able to figure out that cheat code of essentially duplicating yourself, replicating yourself, to make sure that you're making that impact, making sure that you are that catalyst, because you can't do it by yourself. It's a family, it's a team, it's a unit.
Absolutely.
It's a village. We have to do it together. And I love that you were able to accomplish that. And that's a perfect segue into moving forward, because when I see Obi Malope, I see an educator, I see an innovator, I see a leader, and I see a global optometrist. And I really want to discuss your journey, and I really want to break down each and every one of these areas, Obi. I really want to get into it. And I want to start off with the education piece, because you mentioned that earlier to me. You said, you figured out with eye care, education, health, and retail, that's the three segments that, create value for the patient, or that you see where there's an opportunity. But the first thing you mentioned was education. And I really want to talk about education before we get into the innovation, leadership, and becoming a global optometrist. So if you could just kind of tell me, why education? How did you know that this would elevate your career? Because you've written books, you do classes. I mean, let's kind of dive deep into that, Obi.
Thank you very much for the question, Dr. Glover. So, because I was not like your average student, there was no way I can be average. So from my first year of optometry school, I started attending optometry conferences. And I would go to these conferences, and I would be one of two students at the conference where everyone else is working already. And I started visiting conferences from my first year optometry school. Not only that, I started working as an eyewear consultant from my first year optometry school every weekend and every holiday.
Obi,
and as a result,
Obi, I see the smile on your face. You see this comment. For those that are listening to this on podcasts, iTunes, whatever it may be, this is also a visual live stream podcast. And my colleague, my friend Sebastian, that I met on one of these other platforms, he put on here, Obi is the optometrist for the soul and for optometry. You're essentially the pulse of eye care, man. And Sebastian's not even an optometrist. He's a media guru, a marketing guru, especially when it comes to LinkedIn. I met him on Clubhouse. So, even outside of the industry, the people can see your passion. They can feel your passion whenever you're speaking. So, if that's not, a check for you that, you have made it, man. You are impacting everyone. Not only inside the industry, but outside the industry. So I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I just
that's cool. That's cool. Thank you very much, Sebastian. Thank you very much. So I used to travel to different optometry practices from my first year optometry school. So every holiday, I did not go back to the same optometry practice. I'm in Gauteng, specifically Johannesburg, but the school that I went to was in Bloemfontein, which was more central. So every holiday, I looked at opportunities where I can work as an optometry student in different optometry practices. And I always used to carry around a notebook everywhere I went, because I realized that I have to learn what am I going to be experiencing as an optometrist one day, and not wait until I finish as a student. And one thing that I realized from my first year optometry school was that what we were being educated on, Doc, in the optometry school was not what the optometrists are doing in their practices. And so that stuck with me for a very long time, first year, second year, and third year. And in my third year, Dr. Dirk Boyson stood up in the class and asked us that question of how do you define optometry? And I said to him what I said to you. I said, optometry has the information that you have to know before the patient walks into the optometry practice, the information that you need to be able to apply in the examination room, and then you have to wear your sales hat when the person walks out of the examination room. And I realized that most practices struggle with implementing all three components at every single point in time. So then he said to me, Obi, if you can be able to have a business, this was 2006 in my third year of optometry school. He said to me, Obi, if you can be able to have a business that can be able to teach people what you have just said, you will thrive and you'll do well in that particular business. So for me, I knew that I struggle being in a contact lens lecture. I struggle being in a pathology lecture. I struggle being in a pediatric lecture. But I absolutely love pediatrics. I absolutely love contact lenses. I absolutely love pathology. So how can I bridge the gap for people that were just like me in terms of education? From an education point of view, you might not be able to be knowledgeable and apply yourself the same way that the other students can apply themselves, but you love being in practice, implementing the work. So the idea of simplifying complex content that we are all learning in optometry school started way back in 2006. And that's what led to that initial part of saying, wait a minute, how about you start writing books that will simplify all these complex matters or subject matters for the everyday optometrist who finishes optometry school, goes into the marketplace and thinks to themselves, wow, how do I apply all of this? So that's how the book strategy or approach started. I wanted to educate people that were going through optometry school struggling the same way I did. For in case you don't know, Dr. Glover, it took me 5.5 years to finish my 4-year degree. I failed my third year and I failed my fourth year again. And when I look at where I was failing not from the practical side, but from the theory side. So the books that I started writing, the content was built from the time I was in university. And I then spent all the years in practice fine-tuning what was difficult about the stuff that I was learning to make it simplified for the next generation of optometrists so that they don't have to go through what I went through. The final year optometry student can sit in their 4th year class learning from all that complex textbooks, but be able to pick up a Vision Straight book that simplifies all the difficult stuff that they're learning and be able to put them a step ahead of their classmates. So that's how I look at education. I look at education as something that is very, very important, but it needs to be simplified. You know why it needs to be simplified, Doc? Because when we sit in front of the patient does not care about our educational background. The patient cares about how do we understand their problem? Can they understand what we are talking to them about? Can we be able to communicate with them at their level? Can we be able to showcase what is it that they're going through, why they're going through what they're going through, and what is required for them to solve that particular problem? So then if you can't be able to do that, then all that education that you know means absolutely nothing to the patient. So for me, education was, how do I bridge the gap for the practitioner and the patient? And that's how that started, Doc.
Yeah, I love that, Obi. I really do, man. And when you think about what you just said, I mean, it's so powerful, right? Just sometimes we don't think about the patient. I know it sounds weird, but we don't think about the patient when they're in the exam room. We kind of go into that exam room and we look at the chart ahead of time and we already know what we want to say. But to your point, sometimes a patient just needs to have that conversation, right? As optometrists, we're not only eye care professionals, but we're also psychologists, right?
Absolutely.
We sit down, we have conversations with people, and we're there for them, right? We're leaders in our community. We show up for them when they need support. And sometimes we just have to, get out of our own way and just actually focus on the person that's in front of us. It's funny that you mentioned this stuff about, patient care. I actually had the opportunity to speak at Indiana University virtually this past Friday, and I gave a speech on how to really be successful in patient care. And the one thing that I stressed, Ob, was that you have to understand the power of the doctor-patient relationship. And I really broke down this concept by breaking down the word patient. And I looked at P as being able to really prioritize care, which I got from my team over at my eye doctor, right?
Yeah.
Really just putting that patient first, putting them on the pedestal, being prepared, getting through optometry school, right? That was the P in patient. And for A, I looked at A as being attentive, right? You got to be attentive. You got to make sure that you're looking at things through the patient's eyes. You're practicing empathy. You're really making sure that you understand the person that's in front of you, and that you're using verbal and nonverbal cues to make sure that that patient understands that you are tuned into them, right? And then for the T, I looked at that as trustworthy, right? Are you being honest? Does that patient trust you? Because if they trust you, they're going to tell you everything that you need to be successful to find a solution for that patient. And then the I in patient I used as inclusive, right? We got to provide an inclusive environment for all patients that walk in. You got to make sure that if someone is handicapped, you have an office that's accessible to that. You got to have resources and tools, literature for folks that may not speak English to be able to understand that or how to communicate with them. You got to make sure that you have everything in front of them so that they get the same care that everyone else gets. You got to be able to accept all backgrounds, all colors, all walks of life when they come into your practice. And then the E in patient, for me, is being able to empower, right? You really want to make sure that you bring that patient into the conversation. You give them autonomy. You make them a part of that treatment plan in order to really elevate the care that they have. You know what I'm saying? And for in patient, that was really noteworthy. You got to create an experience that is just mind-blowing. There's a lot of competition out there, whether it's locally, whether it's online. Well, I guess I can say virtually, right? So you got to really make sure that that doctor-patient relationship is mind-blowing, is amazing, is out of sight. So you really have to emphasize from online all the way to them picking up glasses. That journey is unmatched, and they can only get it in your office. These are the things that you can do to really elevate that doctor-patient relationship. And then lastly, for the T, I'm a big fan of always stressing teamwork, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. I just had a podcast not too long ago last week with Cooper Vision, and I had some myopia experts on, and we were talking about, when you have teamwork in your office, when you're able to make sure that everyone's on the same page and we all understand that we all create value together as a team, you're going to take that doctor-patient relationship to the next level. But I also put with that T that you have to make sure that you partner not just inside of the office, but also you partner inside of your profession, right? You got to partner with opticians, you got to partner with ophthalmologists. And outside of just your industry, you got to partner with other healthcare professionals. And then lastly, the most important piece is you got to partner with your associations. Here in the States, the American Optometric Association does so many things to make sure that we are able to continue to practice optometry. This profession I love with all my heart, man. And if this profession went away, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably drive my wife crazy as hell, to be honest with you. But you got to be able to partner with these associations to really allow us to continue to expand our scope of optometry and to protect our rights. So, to your point, we got to really look at that patient, right? And that doctor-patient relationship, it gets deeper. It's not just whatever you want to do. It's all about that patient. And whenever you're able to put together all those things that I just touched on, I feel like you can really elevate patient care and take it to the next level.
Absolutely. I love that. And you see, the thing about education, it never stops. I've got a little notepad here. I'm writing things down, man, because one thing I love about our industry is that you can't rely on past success. So every time that patient comes into your practice, one thing that I always tell every single patient is, welcome to the practice. If you're a new patient, you're about to have the best experience that you have ever had in your life, irrespective of where else you have been through for anything that you have needed. So I always set that as the tone. So if someone comes for the second time, I would have written on their file that I gave this person the best experience of their life and why. What did I do specifically? So you create that expectation that you're not just going to treat a person that sits across you as by the way, because it forces you to become intentional. It forces you to want to be able to go further than the norm. And I love this, what you've just said now. I've written it down. I'm stealing it, Doc. I'm going to cut this piece of the recording and attach it to all my stuff that I do. And I'll give you credit for it, Doc. So thank you very much for that. But yeah, man, education is so pivotal that you cannot exclude the patient nor the professionals within it. Yeah, so I love that. I love that, Doc.
I appreciate it, man. And, for all the schools out there, if you'd like for me to come to your school and give a little more education about that, feel free to hit me up, drdarrylglover@gmail.com. I am here for you. My whole thing is I want to make sure that I continue to create the state of happiness. And in order for me to do that, I have to work with the youth. I have to work with the future of optometry, and that's the students. The students are everything. We have to put more focus in them and make sure they have all the tools and resources to be successful. And one thing that I pride myself in is being aligned with an organization like My Eye Doctor that gives me the opportunity to get out there and make these things happen, shake these hands, kiss these babies, and push the word, because we're doing some amazing things in our organization. And I challenge every optometrist out there to continue to push how great optometry is. Every kid that walks in your exam lane, invite them to come back and ask them if they want to shadow. Ask them if they want to learn more about optometry, because it's an amazing profession, but we have to do our part and educate how great it is. I'm not going to lie, over the last whatever amount of time, we've done a horrible job of doing it. We need to make optometry sexy. We have to let the world know how great of a profession that we have. And it starts with you in that exam lane, because they're seeing you do all the work. Again, Obi, I digress. I'm gonna stop preaching. Something that I wanted to jump in on is, these books, man. You've done a phenomenal job when it comes to writing books, and I would love to just maybe get a high level perspective in regards to your books. I'm gonna pull them up on the screen here. It looks like we got about 5 books here, man. If you can maybe break down from top to bottom, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, what each book is about and what value that it can create for eye care professionals out there.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Doctor, for highlighting that. We all experienced the impact of the pandemic one way or another. A lot of practices were not prepared for the pandemic or anything similar to that. So the strategy book that you see there, it's a book that encompasses 3 different components: the attractive appeal of your business, the financial growth aspects of your business, and how do you build a sustainable business, looking at the consumer, which is patient, client, customer, however you want to focus on it, the market that your business operates in, and the optometric practice that you are creating. So those are the key elements focused on the book in terms of what you have done leading up to the pandemic, what you did through the pandemic, and how can your business continue to thrive and succeed 10, 15, 20 years from now. The marketing book, right at the beginning of the pandemic, Dr. Glover and I, we had been building very big or large media platforms, and we discovered that a lot of optometry practices went into panic mode when the pandemic hit. They realized that they had websites, they had brands, they had social media, but everything was all over the place. So the 2 of us collaborated, and we created a very practical tool where we focus on each and every single component of your marketing strategy from a digital media and on a one-to-one marketing perspective, in terms of what is it that you need to be focused on from your optometric practice to continue to excel in this uncertain economic environments that we're all finding ourselves in. So the book is very practical. It touches on all things marketing. That was a book that I absolutely love doing with you, Dr. Darryl Glover, because and the nice thing about the book is that chapter 10, yeah, here we go, Doc. Chapter 10 is that we then featured a lot of other leaders in the eye care industry who have built incredible professional brands on their own, but at the same time, they've built incredible practices, and they've come together in one chapter 10, I think, where we hear from what the industry experts have have to say. And we feature people from Poland, Justina, people from the UK, people from here in Africa, to give us a broad perspective on what will make your optometric practice or your eye care practice thrive. Then the pathology book was written by and a fantastic optometrist here in South Africa, Marika Silius. She took the anterior segment and broke it down on what we as optometrists get to see on a day-to-day basis in optometric practices. And she took all the conditions that we can encounter from the anterior segment, and she broke it down in terms of what to look for, what it looks like that would be similar to it, how to manage it, how to follow up on it. So it's a very practical book. It's a conditioner page. And that's definitely a book that all optometrists should consider getting. And for me, you mentioned, Dr. Glover, that we can't build extraordinary practices without our teams. Our teams are the catalysts in our businesses. The people, our staff, they're the most valuable resource that we have at our disposal. So the Vision Straight's Practical Guide for Optometric Staff is a book that was written for optometric staff so that we can unlock the full potential that exists in them in order for them to elevate our practices to the next level. And the book at the bottom there, that was our very first baby, Vision Straight's Business Guide for Optometry Practices. How I came about writing this book, I realized that leadership is at the essence of everything. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So in the Business Guide for Optometrists, we focus on key elements of leadership from an optometric point of view. As the leadership goes, so does the rest of the team. And so we highlight key leadership principles that optometric business owners need in order to structure their businesses around. And that was our first book in 2016. And yeah, that's basically the history behind the book. And yeah, I'm super grateful for all the people that have been supporting us in making sure that these books are available to the global eye care community. There's a lot of sponsors, a lot of corporates that have come on board in seeing the value of why industry leaders, professionals in our industry, students need to get a copy of our books.
Hey, man, I love it. And I think you've done a fantastic job. I mean, I have your books and I've read through them. And the one thing I love is that it's in a language that I can understand. And I know that was intentional because of what you experienced in school, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that I love is that you captured something that everybody thought, but no one was vocal about, right? So now you have a platform, a book or books that people can go and read and continue to become great eye care professionals because it's easy to digest, and that's what's needed. Now, something that I want to pivot to, and this was a part of the main things that I wanted to touch on today, is leadership. You mentioned leadership, a minute ago, and
Yeah.
you're a leader, Obi. I mean, it's no doubt about it. And I really want to kind of walk down your leadership journey because it's fascinating just to see the impact that you've made globally. For those that don't know, Obi and I, we've known each other for probably about 4 or 5 years now. Obi and I actually, yeah, right. We actually created a business together abroad. And believe it or not, Obi and I have never met in person.
It's crazy, eh?
We have never met in person. Yet we have an entire digital platform in Africa known as Africa Media, which we'll get into here shortly. And we've broke bread together, but we've never met. And the reason why I wanted to partner with him was because of his leadership. So Obi, let's really dive into your leadership. When did you know that you were a leader? And kind of walk us through what that looked like. And then also I'd love to dive into maybe some resources and how you continue to build your leadership and being a global optometrist. Because a lot of doctors look up to you, not just in South Africa, but in Africa, but globally, the United States, Australia, UK, all these areas where optometry is great. Eye care professionals look up to you, to your leadership. So let's kind of jump into that if you don't mind, my friend.
Oh, wow, what a question. So in 2011, 2012, I would say I was unemployed. The reason why I was unemployed, I spent 2 years working in practices that at the time I deemed to be the top 100 optometric practices in the eye care industry in South Africa. So I looked at my database and I said, okay, this person specializes in contact lenses, hard contact lenses, and he seems to be the best in the business. So I would go and spend 2 to 3 weeks working in his practice free of charge. I looked at someone who was known as the best pediatric optometrist. So I would go in their practice and spend about a month learning from them as to what makes them the leader they are in pediatric optometry. So for me, I started by identifying which people or institutions were recognized or identified as industry leaders or key opinion leaders within a particular competency area in eye care. And I went and spent time free of charge of my own accord, my own time, learning from those people. And I started just taking notes in terms of how can we have more people doing that which that person was already doing? How can we make sure that what this person has managed to build, we can have 100 other people do the same thing or go further than what that person has already done? So for me,
Right.
I looked at leadership from how can we bring the ladder down? How can we create a space for the people that are already at the top of their game to reach more people? And I realized that what was a hindrance to a lot of people in the eye care industry was access. Remember 2011, 2012, there wasn't social media the way it is right now. There wasn't websites that existed the way they do it right now. There wasn't YouTube that was as popular today as back then. LinkedIn, I was not even on LinkedIn in 2012, you know? So I just looked at leadership as we have a lot of industry greats who are limited to their small community and are not willing to come down and reach the next generation. And I realized that I don't want to be a person who identifies a problem and not do something about it. So I raised my hand, Dr. Glover. I said, let me be the bridge between those people that are already miles ahead and the next generation. And whatever else that I do, it has to be going through me. And that's how I approach leadership. And it's the whole thing about leadership is empower people, like you said, but through empowering people, you need to give them the tools that enable them to go beyond their comfort zone, that enable them to go beyond what the previous generation has been able to do. And that comes at a price, that comes at a cost, because how do you then, especially in South Africa, where we've got multiple cultures, multiple religions, multiple ethnic backgrounds, how do you ensure that each dynamic group can be able to benefit from what you're trying to build? And that, unfortunately, has not been an easy road. And I realized that for me to be able to build trust with the eye care community, for me to be able to show people that, hey, you can work with me like you and I are working, I had to first put in the work that people can be able to have tangible tools in their hands, hence the books. The books was my introduction in showing credibility for the eye care industry. So I talk a lot about identifying the need for the books at a student level, but I never wrote the books for students. I wrote the books for the entire eye care community because I had to make sure that when the 60-year-old business leader who has been in eye care for 40 years picks up a Vision Straight book or connects with me online, I can be able to say something to them that they can resonate with in a same manner that the 20-year-old optometry student can be able to resonate with. So what I went and did beyond the books, I submit speaking abstracts to every single conference that I can think of, even in countries that don't even speak English. I would write abstracts and send 3 or 5 abstracts to each and every single conference that exists in the world. How many rejection letters do you keep getting? More than the acceptance letters. How often do I send them? Every single week, I'm sending an abstract out. Every single week, I'm writing a blog. I'm writing an article. I'm writing something that I'm sending to organizations, institutions, and it's all focused on a particular problem area that I've identified in eye care and that I want to talk about. And you just have to keep at it, because unfortunately, with leadership, Dr. Glover, one thing that I've picked up on it is that it never stops.
That's correct.
It never stops, because it comes with a sense of responsibility. To whom much is given, much is expected. You just showed an image now with 5 books. There's a young student in Ghana, there's a young student in Brazil who's going to be watching this podcast or this interview that you're doing with me right now. And they're going to be thinking to themselves, I can do what this guy is doing in Brazil. I can do what this guy is doing in South America. What's stopping me? Because to whom much is given, much is expected. If I fail at it, a lot of people are going to say, who does he think he is? Who did he think he was to think that he can write books for the eye care industry, to speak at events? So I understand that I cannot know it all. I have to gravitate towards other leaders. So on a weekly basis, I'm talking to about 4 or 5 other leaders who are almost nearing retirement, trying to gravitate as much information from them as I possibly can, so that as I evolve as a leader, as I evolve as a professional, I'm not making the same mistakes that they did. I can be able to go beyond what they have experienced, so that those that are going to be coming after me can be able to do far more than what you and I are currently doing for the eye care industry. So for me, leadership, Dr. Glover, it's this. It's who can you pull people up, and can you get something from that person in order to pull forward, to push forward. That's how I see leadership, Dr. Glover. And everything that I've done, whether it be speaking engagements, whether it be writing books, it's just putting resources in people's hands. Number one, to unlock the potential that exists in them. Number 2, to let them thrive in their area of competency. And most importantly, if they are operating at a next level, it forces everyone else around them to operate at another level. And it most certainly results in the patients experiencing eye care or eye health management on a completely different level. That's how I approach leadership, Dr. Glover.
Man, I love this, OB. And, I love that, number one, you found the gap, right? How do we create more leaders? How do we get more value out of leaders, right? You found that gap, right? You got here and here, right? And you're that person in the middle that's creating access to leadership. And once these students or these doctors get to that point of understanding that they're leaders, to your point, that's going to take eye care to the next level, right? Because
absolutely,
when you become an optometrist, you naturally become a leader. And sometimes optometrists don't realize that. You are a leader. You are a leader in the exam room. A patient is coming to you because you're the leader in eye care. You're a leader in your office. Your team members go to you for the answers. They want solutions, right? And you're a leader in your community. People are going to always come to you and ask, can you speak at an event? Can you give advice on this or that? And you're a leader when it comes to politics, right? You have to get out there and talk about why optometry needs to be a part of a certain bill, why optometry cannot be left out. You are a leader as an optometrist, and you have to understand that. You have to take it, and you have to make sure that you push it out and you pay it forward, right? So when you pay it forward, how can you mentor students? How can you mentor other docs to understand the importance of leadership? That's a call out. That's a challenge. Figure out how you can make that happen. Fill that gap like OB did and amplify it, right? I love this completely. I love leadership just in general. I think it's just a fascinating concept. For me, I didn't realize that I was a leader until a little later in my career. And ever since I embodied it and I accepted it, I've made it my goal to, again, lead the future of eye care, because I want to make sure that this profession is fantastic. And as leaders, OB, I think you and I, and also the folks that are more seasoned millennials, that age bracket, I think I'm going to go out here and say it. We're the best leaders in the world. And the reason why, OB, is because we came up with typewriters. We came up before the cell phone. So we understand that world. But also we were the ones that were very critical, or we're the ones that were really hands-on and engaged with social media, with the cell phone, with these newer technologies, the disruptive technologies. So we understand it. And when you look at the younger generation, they didn't get to see that. And you look at the more seasoned generation, they didn't really understand what was going on. So when you have a leader in that age bracket, they have seen the best of both worlds. They can communicate with both of those worlds. And as leaders, communication is everything. So I look at, you know, where we're at in life. We have a job and we have to do it. And we're talking about that gap. We are that gap. We are those leaders to really help push forward the profession.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
I really want to pivot and go into innovation, right? Because you are definitely an innovator. You have brought things to South Africa, to Africa, that eye care professionals have never seen. And I would really like to just dive into that. You know, in your opinion, why is innovation important? And talk about some of the innovation that you brought to South Africa that's really expanded to the entire continent, but also globally as well.
Wow, what a question. Thank you very much, Doctor. Dr. Glover, innovation is key, is critical, because everything else around us is evolving. And I don't know if you have tried to spend the day without your glasses. When last did you try to spend the day without your glasses, Doc?
Man, you know what? If I do that, I'm not gonna look as fly, man. You know, I do have a very mild prescription, I must say, but it makes a world of difference. So the last day that I spent without my glasses was probably over 10 years ago.
Wow. And right now, you can't go for a couple of minutes without realizing that you need your glasses, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
There's a lot of limitations that immediately come on you or come upon you, that you feel like, wait a minute, where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? You become unease with yourself immediately when you can't be able to put on your glasses or contact lenses. So for me, how I see innovation is, you cannot stay at the same place as you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago. We constantly have to evolve, elevate ourselves. And by doing so, we're going to elevate everything else that people are going to be experiencing that we have to offer. Because people are going to constantly want new things. People are going to want to experience new things. We have to make sure that when it comes to optometry, eye care, we're giving people the very best. In order for us to give them the very best, we have to produce the very best. We have to attract the very best. We have to look forward to wanting the very best. And that's all about innovation. You cannot stay the same. It's like a relationship. I've been with my wife for 18 years. It's a very, very long time. You've had to evolve all the time, you know? And I realized that if I'm going to stay the same in my relationship is going to go stale. It's going to sort of like go to a point where it's going to end eventually. How much more so then everyday things that you're involved with? So for me, I'm constantly looking at what areas of the things that I love in eye care can I be more innovative with. When I started optometry, the CPD platforms, the CE platforms, were you either attending a CPD lecture or you read an article and you have to fill in a questionnaire. Now, we decided, wait a minute, the world is going in a different direction. Why can't you make the article into a video format where someone is looking at a video of a CE lecture of something that is from someone who's talking about something that is practically happening in practice, and you're learning from someone who is in practice doing exactly what you are doing from a different country. That's a better and faster way of learning, other than sitting and just reading an article, answer a questionnaire. So some of the things that I brought into the South African market or the African market was, we brought an online CPD platform that we developed that focused on creating CPD courses across the different competency areas in South Africa. At the time that we launched this, there wasn't anything like that in South Africa or Africa. So we created a platform that resulted in topics that covered all the different competency areas in eye care from a video point of view. So our platform, 80% of the content is in the form of videos that you can watch and it covers topics that we all experience in practice. Then I took it a step further. Because I do a lot of training and development workshops, I recorded myself running training and development workshops across a wide range of topics. And I put all the content online, and I created the Vision Straight Academy, so that when you think of sales training, marketing training, patient communication pearls, dispensing, any topic that you can think about that involves interaction between your staff and your patients, all those topics that are summed up in that two topics. We created online content that we feature a lot of leaders from all over the world, where they record videos training people on those subject matters, and we've put it all online so people can have easy access to continuous professional development points. Because one thing that I noticed, Dr. Glover, was a problem in eye care was that we go to these CE events to get points to submit to our regulatory authority bodies, and that's wrong. You need to see online content or educational content as something that you can practically take and apply.
Yes.
The point should be a byproduct of what you are gaining to be able to implement in your practice. And that's how we look at innovation. We just don't create courses for people to have their CPD points and submit to their regulatory bodies. We want to put a different way of thinking in people's minds, so that when they're sitting in front of the patient, they are looking at their patient as, wait a minute, this person has multiple genes. This person has multiple shoes. This person does not only have one set of clothing items. Why is it that they only have one pair of glasses? Why is it that when they come for the annual eye examination, they can't look at themselves as, in August, I'm getting this pair of glass with this particular features on my lenses. But in December, I'm going to come for the contact lenses. In April 2023, I'm going to come for the sunglasses. In August 2023, I'm going to come for the third pair of glasses or optical wear. So for me, we create content that enables the staff members and the optometry professionals to be empowered, so that they can provide optometry patients with solutions that elevate their visual experience, their visual performance, and not just seeing a patient as someone who needs a pair of glasses, but someone who actually needs continuous solutions that elevate how they experience the eyewear environment or visual environment. So everything that we do from an innovation point of view is, does it elevate the profession? Does it elevate the individual? Does it take the patient experience to another level? Then we go and do it. That's how I approach innovation, Doctor.
Fantastic. You know, the main thing that I took from that was elevation, right?
Absolutely.
How elevate the patient experience through innovation. How can you connect the dots for that patient that's sitting in front of you? How can you educate them that you're finding a solution for them to make their life better, right? Obi, I have this conversation with students all the time. I have this conversation with new docs all the time. And the one thing that I tell them that I really love that you touched on is that you need multiple pairs of eyewear for the different activities in your life. I prescribe per lifestyle, right? I always use this whenever I'm talking to my patients, and some of my patients may be listening to this because they follow me on LinkedIn and different social media platforms. But I always say this, you know, you got shoes for work, shoes for church, shoes for turning up, right? It's the same thing with the eyewear. You got glasses for work, for church, and for turning up. They're all different glasses, and you have to look at what activity you're doing with your lifestyle. And it's my job to prescribe a solution for you to accommodate that lifestyle, to make sure that you're elevating that experience, right? I think sometimes as eye care professionals, we get so transactional that we forget that we are really more relational, right? And to build that relation, you really have to do digging in regards to that patient's lifestyle and understand that patient. But the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you actually connect with them on a personal level. And when you're able to connect with them on a personal level and develop that relationship, then you can truly elevate that experience, because they're going to tell you everything that you need to know to give them the solution to elevate their life. Now, they may also add in all the drama that they hear at work, the drama at home, so and so dating this person and that, which, you know, I take a little bit of that because my wife loves reality TV, and you know, sometimes I get reality TV in my office, right? But you know, the whole thing is, everyone listening, make sure that you use innovation to your advantage.
Yeah.
Patients are coming to you because they want the best products, the best innovation to elevate their lifestyle. And through innovation, you can really elevate that patient experience. That was golden, Obi, golden.
Yeah.
So, Obi, man, you're dropping gems in here, man. I mean, we've touched on, you know, education. We touched on leadership. We touched on education, leadership, innovation, all of those things. Let's talk about being a global optometrist, man. I mean, like, this journey has just been phenomenal for you. So I'd love for you to maybe just share, you know, the day in the life of what a global optometrist experience, and then also potentially, you know, some of the countries that you've been able to visit or host lectures, and kind of tell me what your thoughts are on what optometry is going to look like 5-10 years from now.
Wow, that's a
It's
question.
a packed question. I know, it's a packed question.
Yeah, for me, Doc, is I realized when we had a contact lens conference in South Africa, 2017. This is where it started. 2017, we had a contact lens conference in South Africa, and a year before, I was speaking at a general conference locally here, and one of the contact lens organizers was sitting in the front row, and I was speaking at this conference, and I had a standing ovation at the end of that conference. And I don't speak about anything contact lenses. And at the end of that lecture, Annelise, she came to me and she says, "You know what? I just love your energy. I love what you just all about. I don't know how this is going to be possible, but I want you to talk at our contact lens conference coming up next year. And we don't even know what you're going to talk about, but we just want you there to talk about anything you want." So that's how I started thinking differently. And I decided, how do you then turn your practice into a contact lens institution? Because at the time, I realized that a lot of practices, they don't know how to prescribe both contact lenses and spectacles to patients as a management solution. It's as if it's either this or that. So then I decided I'm going to go to this conference and show people how to prescribe both as a number one option for patients, including sunglasses, of course. So come to the conference. Professor Nicholas Rumney from the UK was sitting in the lecture, minding his own business on his cell phone and thinking to himself, who is this young man who does not even practice specialty contact lenses? What is he going to be saying to us or to me that I've never heard before? That was his approach.
Clearly,
So
he
he said
didn't know who Obi Malope was at that moment. I'm pretty sure now he has you on speed dial, and he's calling you for advice and tips to take to the next level.
So anyway, let me fast track the story quickly. He then, I started speaking and he set up. So he was sitting like this in the lecture hall and on his phone. And I started speaking. Halfway through it, he set up and he was like, okay. At the end of that message, he said to me, he was speaking after me in actual fact. And he got up to the stage and he said, that is the best contact lens talk I've heard from a business point of view. And he tweeted that to his network on in the IK community. And I went to him and he said, Obi, I've been all over the world. I've listened to experts in the contact lens industry speak about building a contact lens practice, but I've never heard it sound so practically from a young optometrist like you. You must consider doing this on a more full-time basis to everyone beyond South Africa. And when that happened, Dr. Glover, I started thinking to myself, what do they need in Poland that I can offer? What do they need in America that I can offer? What do they need in Iran, in Ghana, Nigeria? And so from a global perspective, a day in the life of what I do, like what you are asking, I research what happens in optometry in the different countries. I look at what am I skilled in? I'm skilled in writing books now because I think I've got evidence of 5 books down the line. So I look at, wait a minute, strategy for optometrists. What kind of strategies are applicable in Burkina Faso? What kind of strategies are applicable in Canada, in the UK? So I researched, Dr. Glover, what is happening in the respective countries. And then I look at, can I add value through what I already do? If the answer is yes, I try and replicate what I've done in South Africa in that country. If the answer is they're not doing what I'm already doing, but they need something else, then I go and I start putting in the work to be able to implement that in that particular country. So I've connected with countries in Canada, half of the countries in the African continent, like Kenya, Ghana, Namibia. I've engaged with a lot of those companies in either developing content for them, developing programs for them. I spent 2021 working with institutions in India, developing programs for them in India for their educational programs. I've done work in the UK a lot, and I'm looking forward to coming to the United States of America in 2023 to come and add value through the eye care community in America, because I believe that I bring a different edge. I bring a different approach to how eye care is done. And simply because my focus area, Dr. Glover, in being a global optometrist is communication. I've learned that the patient should be at the heart of everything that we do. And if you understand the patient, you have to understand that the 50-year-old Indian patient responds differently from the 23-year-old Caucasian
Absolutely.
male who comes from a wealthy family compared to the 46-year-old Asian lady who comes from a semi well-off family or not so well-off family. Each and all of these patients respond differently to different communication tools. But at the heart of it all is patient care.
Yeah.
Do you really care for that patient that's in front of you?
Yeah.
And so I've built up a wealth of resources, tools, programs that focus on patient care and how we should be communicating with patients in the different categories that I can list. And so that's what I specialize in. I found my niche. My niche is communication. I know how to make a patient feel like the most important patient to walk into the examination room.
Amen.
And my focus is that patient. And immediately when they leave and the next one comes in, I make that one feel exactly the same way. And you took the title first, so I can't take the same title, the favorite optometrist. But I want to be known as the most caring optometrist. The most caring optometrist. So if I can go all over the world and educate people on what can unlock that particular optometrist in being the best at what they do, so that they can give the patient the very best that they deserve, then I've done my job. And that's how I approach being a global optometrist, Dr. Glover.
I love it. I love it. And, you dropped a lot of gems. And, I think the theme of this live stream, this podcast, even though it's the journey of a global optometrist featuring the mighty, the great Obi Malope, I think the theme of this stream has really been the doctor-patient relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because I broke down the word patient. You provided resources for the doctor to be able to connect better with the patient. We've said over and over that there's a huge need for great communication. You broke down the importance of being inclusive in the practice, right? Being able to accommodate all those different walks of life, right?
Yeah.
That has been the theme of this stream and this podcast. And it's been fantastic information, fantastic gems from the world's global optometrists, right? Before we switch gears and end the stream, and by the way, this has been the longest podcast live stream I've ever had in my life, and I could keep
this is too long.
and on, right? As marketers, as digital, as media people, we know that you're supposed to stay within a certain timeline, but when you're dropping gems, you got to keep going, baby. You know what I'm saying? But before we end, man, I really want to just get your perspective on what optometry looks like on a global scale 5 to 10 years out. Because with the pandemic, it really accelerated more of the digital aspect, the on-demand need for services. So I'd love to kind of get your vision of what optometry looks like 5 to 10 years out?
Wow. One thing, I'll summarize it very quickly. We're first going to go over the next 2 years where there's going to be a lot of fluff that has to be scattered out. Because one thing I've realized is that a lot of people have clout and not capacity. So the online platforms have created a lot of eye care celebrities the world over. We're going to go through a period where a lot of that fluff is going to go away. And people that have built capacity are going to be able to reach beyond the borders of their own countries. That's one thing that's going to stand out. A secondary aspect of it is going to be Africa is going to rise on the global eye care stage like never before. People are going to be amazed at what's going to be coming out of Africa, Dr. Glover. They're going to be shocked when they look at, oh my goodness, I did not realize that's what's happening in Kenya. That's what's happening in Ghana. That's what's happening in Nigeria. Because I believe that the global eye care community, as a result of the exposure that Africa media is giving, a lot of new leaders are going to emerge who are operating at a completely high level of excellence that the global eye care community is going to be exposed to very, very soon. The bridge between speakers only speaking in their respective countries is going to come to an end. More speakers are going to come across the different borders. You're going to see a lot of the likes of Dr. Darryl Glover, the likes of Dr. Essence Johnsons, the Jennifer Chins of this world, the Jennifer Lileys of this world. They're going to find them speaking in countries that they never imagined themselves speaking in, on topics that are relevant to eye care globally. So I believe that the eye care community is going to be made smaller. And it means that organizations have to step up. Organizations that have been dependent on their legacies for 10 to 20 years behind us are going to realize that, wait a minute, we have been average for a very, very long time. New entrants into the market are coming who are bringing a new flavor to how things are done. And that's what I believe is going to be happening in the next 5 years, actually, in the eye care industry. The industry is going to be made smaller. Africa is going to be recognized as a global player on the eye care industry, and more leaders are going to be speaking across borders like never before on topics that are relevant to what's happening in eye care right now. That's what I believe is going to be happening, Dr. Glover. And African media is going to be one of the biggest media players in the global eye care landscape, because Africa is an emerging market. More companies are realizing that for them to be able to grow to the next level, they need to come to the continent of Africa. The people in Africa are realizing that, wait a minute, what we have to offer is bigger than what the world has. So as both sides are happening, Africa media, I believe, is going to play that bridge that I mentioned earlier on. And I hope that more players will come into the industry here in Africa from a media point of view, because that will elevate the standard of communication, the standard of media and marketing on a different level altogether, Dr. Glover.
Fantastic, Obi, fantastic. And the one thing that I love that you're really saying is that we're going to prepare and produce a more inclusive eye care industry, right?
Yeah.
Start talking about bringing folks from different countries and everyone collaborating and working together. That's different thoughts. That's different mindsets. That's different education. That's different ways of doing things. But at the end of the day, that's going to create a better patient experience, a better doctor-patient relationship. It's going to elevate eye care. And I love it. And when you take that same concept, that same mindset, and you sprinkle in all the technology that's going to come along with it, and we got something exciting ahead of us. And I'm super excited to be able to partner with you on Africa Media, but also to partner with you to continue to spread the word, to continue to spread the gospel of how great optometry is, and to continue to lead this industry and find new leaders and give them opportunities to share their story. And I'm going to continue doing that on my own on Defocus Media. And I know you're going to continue to partner with me to do it on Africa Media. And we're just going to make this industry great. But it takes a team, it takes a family, it takes a village. So anyone that wants to be a part of this movement, feel free to reach out to Obi and I. We are here for you. We're here for the industry. We want to see our industry continue to thrive and grow. Again, we got the best profession in the world. Let's act like it. Let's own it.
Yeah.
Let's take healthcare to the next level, folks. Obi, this has been fantastic, man. I don't even want to end this, but I know I have to end this. But I have some exciting news that I love to share. Obi Malope, the global optometrist, is joining the Defocus Media family. He will have his own podcast on the network. It's a masterclass series. And Obi, if you don't mind, just really kind of sharing what that looks like, because you've already created some amazing content. You've had some great guests on there, like Dr. Adam Ramsey and some other folks. So if you don't mind, maybe giving an overview of what that podcast is going to look like and what kind of value it's going to create to other eye care professionals out there as well.
My passion is to see optometry industry, or the eye care industry, operating at the highest level of excellence and transformation. And what we have been doing with, or what we're going to be doing with the masterclass series, through my network, Dr. Glover, of having the privilege and the opportunity of connecting with different leaders from all over the world. We are featuring leaders who are operating at a completely high level of excellence, and we're bringing them onto the platform so that they can be able to showcase the practical steps of what it takes to be able to build incredible brands, incredible organizations that are long-lasting, that are going beyond year 5, year 10, year 15, year 20, year 30, and that are producing other leaders beyond what those respective leaders have done themselves. And so the masterclass series is showcasing the hard work that no one ever talks about in eye care, the unseen work that many leaders don't get to see, that people have had to go through in order to reach the pivotal points in their careers. So we are featuring leaders who have excelled exceptionally so in getting to the level that they have reached. So the masterclass series on the Defocus Media platform is going to be a global hub, where we're going to be seeing people that have done exceptional things from all over the world coming onto the platform to share their stories on what it has taken them to be able to get to where they are, and the sacrifices that they have made and gone through in order to reach those milestones in their lives, Doctor. So I'm super excited. It's really changed my life over some of the few people that we have been able to connect with, because they get to share pearls of wisdom that no one knew about them, but that are transforming people's lives as a result of the testimonies that we are receiving from those podcasts and so forth, Dr. Glover.
Fantastic. And that's going to kick off September 2022. So make sure you come in. We're on every platform out there: iTunes, Google, Stitcher, Amazon, whatever you can think of. We're on that platform. We are Optometry's #1 podcast, and we have the best podcasters in the world. Shout out to Dr. Levens, Chris Levens. Shout out to Dr. Kate Ham, Dr. Rachel Simpson. Shout out to Dr. Harbir Sayan. These are part of our team members. Shout out to one of my favorite optometrists, Dr. Jennifer Lyerly. Defocus Media would not be anything without Dr. Lyerly and myself. As a team, we complement each other, and we've been able to build something very special, and we've been able to create something that's going to live long past us. Content is here forever, and just think about it. All the future optometrists will be able to tune back into this and get all these wonderful words of wisdoms, these clinical pearls to elevate patient care and continue to take the torch and move forward. Obi Malope.
Dr. Glover,
yes, sir.
Before you go, thank you for paying it forward. Thank you for with what you have done in the eye care industry. Your ego has to be this big, but I've never seen anyone with this amount of ego. Absolutely nothing, man. The amount of people that you put on, the sacrifice that you have done for the eye care industry. I need to write a book about Dr. Glover. It will be Vision Space Guide to the world of Dr. Glover. That's the title of the book that's going to come. Thank you very much for the sacrifices. Thank you to your wife, and your kids, your two amazing kids, for the sacrifices that you have paid in sacrificing everything for the benefit of the industry. And shout out to Dr. Jennifer Lively as well, just for putting people on, because 3/4 of the people that I've been able to connect with, I would not have connected with them had it not been for the Defocus Media platform, had it not been for you. Thank you for opening up the doors. Thank you, man, for just being a loving person. You love people. I've never met anyone who loves people the way you love people. I completely give you all the honor right now, my brother. You have no idea what you mean to the eye care industry. You're not celebrated enough. Honestly speaking, you're not celebrated enough. People don't understand what it takes for a person to be in your position and not take any credit at all for some of the superstars that we get to shine and embrace as a result of you and Dr. Jennifer Lively. So, man, I'm super excited to be part of your guys' network. I'm super privileged to call you my friend and my brother. Man, you have no idea how you have shaped my eye care journey. Every opportunity I get to do an interview with any organization or any person, I don't miss out an opportunity to just talk about your mentorship and your leadership in my life. Wow. Man, I love you, man. And I know that the industry all over the world has got no idea what you do for them on a big scale. And it's only the beginning. You have not even scratched the surface of what you're capable of. And now I pray that God puts you on a whole nother dimension, because what he wants to do in your life, man, is bigger than what you can even imagine. So may God continue to bless you and protect your family, so that the work that you are looking forward to doing, that you're consistently doing, can expand beyond your reach, man. You are an incredible individual, and I pray nothing but blessings upon your life right now, man. I know this was not scripted, man, so I apologize if we're going too long, but you are a gem to the eye care community, man, and you need to be celebrated more, man. We love you, we appreciate you, man, and we would not be the eye care community that the world knows without what you have done for the eye care industry the world over. So may God continue to expand your territory, man, beyond what you're experiencing right now.
Wow, man, just many thanks for those kind words. You got me almost over here tearing up, man. And you know, I show emotion, but I always hate to cry in front of people, man. But I do cry. But I just want to say thank you so much, and everything you said goes right back at you, man. I mean, you're amazing, Obi, and you know, I love you as well, man, and I love everyone in the eye care industry. And as a family, as a village, we can continue to make this the best profession in the world. For all those out there that want to get to know Obi better, you know, follow him on all social media platforms. Ob Malope, that's Ob Malope. That's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Be sure to follow him. He is dropping some amazing content. He is truly the connection to the world for optometry. Anything that goes into Africa, you need to go through him if you want it to be effective. Thank you again, Obi. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Glover. Everyone stay healthy, positive, and blessed. And until next time, peace. All right, colleagues, and it's a wrap. Thank you dearly for hanging out with the Defocus Media team. We hope truly something resonated with you. And if it did, be sure to give us 5 stars. And make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, you named it. And our handle is at Defocus Media on all platforms. And until next time, be sure to keep it 2020. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.